In modern vehicles, if you want to replace your factory speakers, there are a few challenges that you're likely going to face. For woofers, you're going to need to make sure that the aftermarket driver is physically going to actually fit. And oftentimes to install it, you're going to need an aftermarket adapter. But vehicle manufacturers are now frequently using small mid-range drivers and tweeters throughout the vehicle, and these virtually always have a unique mounting design. Combine that with the fact that these smaller aftermarket drivers usually have a unique mounting style design, and that means that most of the time you're going to have to come up with your own unique mounting solution. And that's not even accounting for the fact that you're likely going to need to modify the OEM wiring by cutting it in order to tap into that signal path. If you're up for doing a custom installation, of course you can do all of these things, but what if you're looking for just more of a plug-and-play solution? This is where the Focal Inside series of solutions from our show sponsor Focal America excels. Now, although in this video we'll be focused on the Focal Inside ISVW155 kit, the full Focal Inside line has options for a ton of different vehicles. More on that later in the video, but for now, let's see what Focal is including in these kits, the installation procedure, a test evaluation, and more. So let's see what is inside this particular Focal Inside kit. This is the ISVW155. First off, inside this bag, they've given us a user manual along with a Focal sticker, and this shows all the different items that are included with the kit along with how to assemble them. Also inside this bag are 2 of these metal Focal Inside emblems. If we'd like to, we can apply these to the speaker grille inside of our vehicle for a more complete look, and in this case, these are made out of metal. Let's take a look at one of the woofers. For this kit, this is a 155mm woofer. It features a polyglass cone along with a 1-inch voice coil. And taking a look at the backside here, you can see that it includes an integrated crossover, a ferrite magnet, a butyl rubber surround, and you can see that this also has the factory style OEM plug built into the housing. This will of course be advantageous later when we go to install. So the kit of course includes 2 of these. And that leaves us with this box here. Inside of this are these 2 pads. These are used to retain the tweeter. Later in the install, you'll see these. They've given us some gasketing foam, some wire connecting terminals, several rivets, vehicle-specific wire harness parts. There is 2 of each of these. Finally, the tweeters themselves. These have some protective packaging material that we can remove, and the tweeter, much like the woofer, has a unique design that is going to precisely match the vehicle. Taking a closer look here, this is an aluminum inverted dome style tweeter. This has an inline filter in order to only send high frequency to the tweeter here. And if you look closely, this has a gasketing material around it. It's a soft style foam. So to get the installation process started here, let's first focus on installing this woofer. The different tools that you're going to need throughout this installation process are pretty simple. I'll be sure to let you guys know what each is as we go through. Do keep in mind that every vehicle is a little bit different. This kit is used for a couple of the different Volkswagen models. In this case, I'm doing this on a MK7 GTI. I need to start with removing this door trim here. If we orbit around to the side right here, you're going to see a small clearance that we can use to get our pry tool into. Always be sure to use plastic pry tools to avoid damaging any of this plastic. All it takes is just a little bit of separation there, and then we can essentially just use our fingers to remove this. Next, we're going to use a T30 Torx bit in order to remove a fastener right there, along with down here. There's one. And there's 2. Now I have a 10mm wrench, and at the bottom of the door panel here is a pocket, and it's a bit difficult to see, but there is a fastener there that we need to turn 90 degrees, like that. It's basically oval shaped. We want it in line with the hole in the panel. Now I can use a larger pry tool, and I'm going to go around the perimeter here, and I believe there are 6 different fasteners that we need to undo. An important note on this particular vehicle, in this area right here, there is a fastener that does not pull out. You have to actually lift the door panel up. So you want to undo all the fasteners around the outside edges first, and then you're going to kind of push up on the panel, which will allow it to come out of that fastener here. So I've got all those undone. Now I want to kind of push up on it like that, get it out of that fastener. We are good. Now I need to undo the door release and the wire harnesses, and it'll be easier for me to show you guys after I remove everything. Give me just a second. So this is what connects to the door handle release. To remove this, you're just going to pull back on this small little tab and it rotates out. And then for each of the different wire harnesses, these just have a small tab that you have to push in order to release them. They are all of a similar design. It is worth noting that on the driver's side of the vehicle, the one that goes down here by the part that you pull on the door that has all the window switches and everything, it does have a little red plastic piece in it that you have to pull out of the way before you can push in on that little bar. A quick side note here, I always like to set the door panel on a moving blanket in order to protect it. I don't want to set it on the ground where it's going to potentially get scratched and damaged. Now, if you recall, during the unboxing, we got these. These are rivets that allow you to rivet the speaker into place. My installation is going to be a little bit different here because I did a conversion project on this that adds threaded rivets into this sheet metal. When the speaker is installed in its factory manner, to remove those rivets, we simply drill them out, but I have a full video covering this process along with the conversion to adding the threaded rivets. To remove this speaker wire, just simply push in on each side. And in my case here, I can just undo these Allen head bolts. I've got them all undone here, and now I can remove the speaker. I do want to note, because you guys have likely noticed, that the edges of these are actually broken. When I originally took out this OEM speaker, it was broken like that already. This particular vehicle is 10 years old, so probably 10 years of rattling kind of led to that. To install this kit, by no means are you required to do the threaded rivets. You could just use the rivets that Focal has included with the kit in order to secure the new aftermarket driver, but in my case here, I'll be using the Allen head bolts. Let's do a few comparisons here between the factory woofer and our new Focal inside woofer. First off, things that I would like to see be exactly the same, the fact that they have the same exact height from the back of the magnet to the flange here. That's a good thing. It means that the overall envelope of the size of the speaker is exactly the same, so we don't have to be concerned about fitment issues. You can also see that they've got that exact same wire harness plug style design. Something else I like to see is the fact that the front flange here is also exactly the same. Notice that the surround of the woofer is slightly sunk in from the frame of this, and the reason this is advantageous is it's going to allow for a good seal up against this foam that is inside the factory door panel. This helps to ensure that all of the sound is guided through the speaker grill rather than being allowed to bounce around inside the panel and cause cancellation. The mounting hole pattern, of course, also matches up. The main differences you're seeing here are in the design of the driver itself. Also note that Focal has included a small bit of foam on the back side of this in order to get a good seal with the door panel and isolate the speaker. Now, while you have access inside the door panel here, it is a good idea to do some sound treatment, but in our case here, I want to evaluate this just simply as a speaker upgrade. If you do want to see the sound treatment process, I have tons of videos about that here on the channel. I'm going to plug in this speaker harness, super easy. And then if I was using the rivets, I would use a rivet tool in order to add these right now. But in my case, instead, we're using the threaded fasteners. So that was incredibly easy. All of the mounting holes lined up perfectly. The plug went in, no problems. Now we can just reverse our steps in order to install the door panel back in place. Do keep in mind, here's that one unique fastener I was telling you guys about. You want to kind of slide the door panel down into that before you start pressing into each of these different holes. So next up here, I need to replace this tweeter that is in the A-pillar. I'm going to start with very carefully prying in this area here up at the top. Sorry for the audio here, switching to the smaller camera to give you guys a better view. I like to start prying on the outside here where it's a little bit behind the door trim. That way we don't mar up any of the fabric on the A-pillar. I do this just enough to get my fingers behind here, and you can see I've already been able to release that first tab. This is another one of those cases that's going to make more sense once I get this off. So let me just pop all three of these off here so I can show you, just like so. Hey, Mark here in the editing station. The trick on these is that you can get a tool behind the panel slightly, and you can actually slide this clip up so that it comes out of the plastic retention on the backside of the actual A-pillar. And now I can get my hand behind here and I can undo the speaker wire harness. So looking at the backside of the A-pillar here are the 3 different clips that I was referring to. I also want to make sure that I replace any of these clips if they become damaged. Here's where that top clip goes, here's where the middle one is, and then the bottom one. The factory speaker wire harness right here, this matches the design of the harnesses that they've given us. The way that they install these factory tweeters is they put them in and there's a small piece of plastic that extends beyond the tab, and then they kind of just melt them into place. So we basically need to remove that bit of melted plastic. I like to do this carefully with a bit of flush cutters. We really just need to remove a small amount of material that is holding these in. So there's an example from one of the tabs. So after we've removed that off each of the tabs, we can pull out the factory tweeter there. So again, doing a quick comparison, here we have the OEM tweeter on the left and our new aftermarket Focal Inside tweeter on the right. And you can see that the Focal Inside tweeter is actually a lower profile. That's mainly because the speaker harness plug on the OEM version is mounted on the back side here, whereas for the aftermarket version, it is separate. If you take a close look at the tabs there, the mounting pattern is exactly the same. So again, while the outside and mounting solution is the same, it's what's inside that makes the difference. Before I fully mount the aftermarket tweeter here, I do want to make sure that these posts are cleaned up enough that I can get this onto those tabs. So basically, I'm just going to do a quick test fit here. We are officially flush and able to push down onto each of those tabs. So now I'll take this off and I'm going to carefully remove this bit of backing paper. This will expose adhesive that is on this outside foam ring, which will allow this to secure better in place. So carefully line up with each of those tabs and simply press that firmly into position. Now to further secure this in place, Focal has given us these. I'll remove the backing paper and I'll kind of bend this to go into place, and notice that I'm lining up one of the slots with where the speaker wire is on the tweeter. We simply want to press this down as far as it will go in order to further secure the tweeter in position, and also to isolate it acoustically within this little pocket. To avoid any potential fitment issues, if I have any areas here where it kind of overlaps the outside edge, I like to trim them away. Just like that. So now we need to connect the speaker wire lead here to that harness. And it is worth noting that Focal gives us an extension piece if we do need the wire to be even longer. But in my case, I've found that just connecting these two here makes this more than long enough to connect to the factory wiring. Also, a quick side note, these terminals are different sizes. That way you can't accidentally mess up the polarity. Even though those terminals are of a locking style, I like to add a bit of heat shrink just to ensure that they do not come disconnected. If you recall from the unboxing, Focal also gives us 2 pieces of this foam material. What we can use this for is to isolate the speaker wire so that it's not potentially vibrating around in the panel, and you could also cut pieces of it for other areas of the install. So now to install the A-pillar back in place, I first need to just connect our new speaker wire connection. This harness is keyed, that way I don't have the potential to mess up the polarity. And now I can just install this back into place. And of course, we can't forget that finishing touch of adding the Focal Inside logo. So now the fun stuff. We get to test out how these actually sound. Now first I want to do a bit of an RTA evaluation. So I am sitting in the car and I have pink noise playing. And I'm using this microphone to do an acoustic measurement of the frequency response of the system. In a previous video, we took a measurement of the factory audio system. Here in red, you are seeing all speakers playing, and then green is the front left speakers playing, along with blue being the front right. So now here is a measurement of the Focal Inside system for the front left drivers. A quick disclaimer, do keep in mind that there is no digital signal processor being used in this system. Everything is stock other than the replacement of the drivers. First off, this measurement was taken at the same exact volume setting as the initial measurement, and you'll notice that across the board we do have more output. There are some areas that we previously saw some cancellations occurring, and of course these carry over to the aftermarket speakers as well. Notably, we are seeing considerably more bottom end with more bass and mid bass, and we're also seeing more in the high frequencies. When comparing the new front right speakers to the OEM speakers, we see a similar trend. Now here on this graph, I'm showing 2000 Hertz on up to 20 kilohertz, and the pink line is a measurement of the new system with all of the EQ settings on the factory head unit set to flat. And I did just want to point out, because this is something that I saw in a few of the reviews of this particular set online, is people remarked that the set sounded a bit bright to them. You can always turn down those high frequencies, even with the factory head unit, just by reducing the treble level, which is shown at its lowest point measured in the green curve here. In my experience, this is typical performance for an aluminum dome tweeter, and do keep in mind that if you did use a digital signal processor, you could even further improve this response. So again, here in red is the RTA measurement of the original stock system, and let's add in the orange curve. This is the total system playing with the new aftermarket Focal Inside upgrade. I do want to stress here though that a performance improvement for speakers doesn't always just show up on an RTA measurement, so let's actually take a listen. So first off, the mid-bass response, quite a noticeable difference. It's a lot more tight and punchy. It provides a rich foundation that really grounds the music. Now I did notice that the highs are more pronounced as well, but rather than being quote unquote harsh, I would say that they're more exceptionally crisp, if you will. The added brilliance from the tweeters really opens up the soundstage. It gives the instruments within a recording a lot more separation, and it makes the listening experience feel more dynamic and lifelike. I've also noticed that I can turn up the volume quite a bit more now and not detect any signs of the speakers being overdriven like I could with the factory speakers. Let's take a quick listen to some royalty-free tracks. You're going to be hearing this through my microphone here on my chest. And don't forget, guys, that you're actually hearing whatever you're watching this video on. You're not actually here in person, but I know that you guys like to hear a quick sound test, so let's do it. This is Bright Eyed Blues. Next up, Campfire Song. And next up, something with a little bit more bass. Keep in mind that this isn't a subwoofer upgrade that we're evaluating, so we're not looking for subwoofer levels of bass here. We're looking for mid bass, so I like this track right here. This is called Chicago. Overall, a solid upgrade that is super easy to install, that also has the room for more potential in the future. You could also amplify these and add a DSP for even better performance. It's always great to be able to improve our sound with a simple upgrade. Now don't forget, there are other options in the Focal Inside line for other vehicles. If you'd like to learn more about that and find a dealer near you, be sure to check out the links down in the video description. A special thanks to Focal America for sponsoring this video, and thank you guys for tuning in and watching.